Goals are destinations, while rules are more like standards that we set for ourselves. A goal is something that you hope to reach in the future, but a rule is something you live by today, regardless of your mood, regardless of your motivation or the circumstances. And that difference really matters. Goals are conditional. They depend on the outcomes. Did you hit the number? Did you lose the weight? Did you break that streak? Rules define who you are. You can break a rule once and you don't quit. You just recommit. It's a standard that you're setting for yourself. You're listening to Unhooked. In this video today, I'm going to show you the 7 rules I'm living by going into 2026 and why rules matter more than goals if you want true lasting change. So stay tuned. So hey guys, welcome back to the show. I am your host, Jeremy Lipkowitz, here with the first episode of 2026 from a beautiful and stunning Cape Town, South Africa. I'm sitting here looking out the window and it is just absolutely gorgeous out today. Blue skies, clouds in the air. Heading out later to play some paddle with friends. But first, I wanted to record this episode for you guys today. And this is a little bit different from the previous episode. The previous episode was about how to close out 2025 strong, how to end the chapter on last year, do some reflection, thinking about what went well, and think about how you want to set the tone for the new year. This episode today is more about rules that I'm living by going into 2026. And I'm also going to talk about why I prefer rules over goals and aspirations. So a little bit on that first. Goals are destinations, while rules are more like standards that we set for ourselves. A goal is something that you hope to reach in the future, but a rule is something you live by today, regardless of your mood, regardless of your motivation or the circumstances. And that difference really matters. Goals are conditional. They depend on the outcomes. Did you hit the number? Did you lose the weight? Did you break that streak? Rules define who you are. For example, I protect my sleep. I train even when I don't feel like it. I don't negotiate with short-term impulses. A few other reasons here is that goals sometimes encourage all or nothing thinking. This thing that happens when you miss some metric on a goal, and it's easy to think, well, what's the point? I've already messed it up. Rules, on the other hand, encourage consistency because you can break a rule once and you don't quit. You just recommit. It's a standard that you're setting for yourself. Rules are much harder to abandon because they're simple and they're repeatable. It's more like a direction that you set for yourself than an achievement. So some ways to think about this for some rules that you might set for yourself. Goals focus on the outcome. Rules focus on the process that actually gets you there. Now, most people know what they want, but very few have rules that make it inevitable. So without further ado, let's dive into the 7 rules that I'm living by going into 2026. The first rule that I'm living by this year is build health before ambition. Everything, and I mean everything, rests on that foundation of your physical health. Your sleep, your nutrition, your exercise, your physical body, that container that is carrying you around. So much of your success in life, in your recovery, in your relationships, in your goals and ambitions, rests on the foundation of your physical health. And so having this rule for myself around making sure that I'm building my health and prioritizing my health before I focus on anything else is so important. If you don't focus on that, if you get a bad night's sleep, if you eat a bunch of junk food, you start to make worse decisions. I mean, they've even shown this scientifically. They've done studies that when you get a poor night's sleep, you make poor food choices. You also just make worse choices in general because you feel less good about yourself. Your self-worth has gone out the window. So prioritizing your health also sets a standard for yourself, showing yourself, I'm taking care of myself and I am making healthy choices for myself. So for me, that is the number one rule that I'm taking into 2026. And it's something that I've been focused on for the last few years and it's really paid off. Getting a good night's rest, prioritizing my sleep, making sure that I make time to go to the gym, to exercise, to stay healthy, to eat healthy, making sure that I'm not putting a bunch of junk in my body. Occasional is okay, but for the most part, making sure that 95% of the time I'm taking care of my health, this really pays off in a big way. Rule number 2 that I'm bringing into 2026: be a man of integrity, especially when no one is watching. So, to do what you said you would do, or to do the right thing, even when no one is watching, is so, so powerful, because it's how you build trust in yourself. Self-trust is built in private, what you do when no one is watching, not in these public wins. So every promise that you make to yourself that you keep, it strengthens that trust in yourself. And the flip side is every promise that you break, it weakens your belief in yourself, your trust in yourself. So every small win here, it compounds your confidence. Your motivation can fade over time, but that self-trust, when you know that you're a man of your word, that can really provide lasting support for all of your dreams and ambitions. So to be a man of integrity, not just in public, but also in private, in, the ways that you hold yourself when no one's watching, the things you look at on your phone when no one's around. This is something I remember someone saying once, this phrase that really stuck with me is, you shouldn't date until you can hand your phone to your partner without worrying about what they'll see. It's like that thing that you do when no one's watching. Are you out of integrity there? And can you get yourself back into integrity? So that's rule number 2, is to be a man of integrity, especially when no one is watching. Rule number 3 is to get back on track quickly. And I want to emphasize the quickly there. The reason that this is such an important rule that I have for myself, and hopefully can inspire you too, is first of all, it sets up the acceptance that falling off the path, falling off the wagon, slipping up is inevitable and okay. And there's nothing wrong with that part of it. It's how quickly we get back on track that's most important. So when you relapse with porn, it's okay. Just get back on track. That's the most important thing. There's a phrase that I heard recently, which is that slips happen, spirals are optional. So occasional slips will happen. We're all human. Porn is pervasive these days. And so, if you have a slip, whether it's with porn or junk food or video games or whatever it is, to recognize, okay, I'm human. I had a slip. Let me get back on track. And the more quickly you can get back on track, the more quickly you can get back to crushing it in life, in whatever way that that's important to you. So own it, repair it, and then move forward. Don't live in secrecy. Don't hide. Don't isolate. Just quickly get back on track and move forward. You don't have to sit and ponder upon, oh, why did this happen? And is this about my childhood trauma? There's a time and a place for that, for reflection, for journaling, for therapy. But it's also okay to say, okay, I slipped. I didn't mean to. Let me get back on track and move forward. Rule number 4, guard your attention like your finances. So many of us are so careful with our finances. We think about money all the time. We put money away in savings. We are always obsessed with, how can I make more money? We're thrifty at the store. Can I get a better deal? Maybe drive an extra 10 minutes to go to a gas station that has cheaper gas. All of these ways that we guard our finances, and yet how easily we give away our time and attention, which is our most valuable asset. When you really think about it, your time and your attention are your most valuable assets, and particularly your attention and what you let yourself consume. What you consume shapes who you are. What you frequently think about and ponder upon becomes the inclination of the mind. This is so relevant to porn, but to everything else. What I realized with porn is every time I logged onto a porn site and was watching it, I was shaping my mind in that direction. I wasn't guarding my attention. I was letting my mind be shaped and consumed by that content. And so part of the rule that I have for myself is to really guard my time and attention. What am I consuming? What am I feeding? Not just my brain, but my heart and soul. What kind of content? Is it stuff that enrages me, agitates me, makes me filled with lust or craving or greed or anger? You gotta protect those. You gotta protect those. So just making sure that you're guarding your attention, at least being mindful of what you are doing with your time and attention. A lot of people just waste away their time and energy. And this is one of the things I hear most often from people I work with, guys in my community, is just how frustrated and fed up they are with wasting so much time and energy on things like porn, social media, thirst traps, dating apps, whatever it is. It's just wasting away your most valuable resource, your time. Another component to this is to recognize that not everything, and in particular, not everyone, deserves access to your mind. There are a lot of people out there who don't deserve your time or attention or access to your mind. So protect your focus first. Everything else improves downstream. Rule number 5, boredom is an essential nutrient. This is a rule that I have not been so great on in the last couple years, but it's one that I'm bringing back for 2026, is to make time for boredom. Particularly for those of us who are high achievers or highly motivated or who like to get things done and accomplish, it's easy to avoid any kind of boredom or downtime where you're not accomplishing things, you're not doing anything. But this can easily become a trap and a prison. If you never let yourself feel bored, you're always going to be filling up smaller and smaller spaces with distraction, stimulation, notifications, junk food, and you become more and more sensitive to those minor moments of boredom to the point where, just speaking personally, in my own experience, there are times where, going and taking a shower without putting on a podcast can be challenging. Like, oh, okay, I have to leave my phone outside of the bathroom when I go take a shower. Or using the restroom and leaving your phone outside the bathroom rather than sitting on it and checking email. So making time for boredom, getting out into nature, going for a walk without your phone. There's so many benefits to making time for boredom. There was a podcast series or a whole podcast show a couple years ago that I remember listening to. And I think the title of it was Bored to Brilliant. And it was a whole show dedicated to reclaiming boredom as a gateway to brilliance, to genius, to creativity. And so in a lot of ways, we need to reclaim boredom. That boredom, it builds emotional strength and impulse control. Learning how to sit in your boredom without running away from it develops that strength of impulse control, which is so valuable for porn recovery. On top of that, finding time for stillness, not only does it sharpen your clarity, it also leads directly to self-awareness. Because when you're not having input from other sources, you can actually start to listen to who you are, to yourself. So making time for boredom is so powerful, and it's a muscle that most people have never trained. So this is a rule that I'm bringing back for myself. I'm highlighting it, underlining it, and emphasizing it this year. But boredom is an essential nutrient that we all need more of. Rule number 6, don't trade tomorrow's peace for today's relief. Short-term pleasure often creates long-term stress, particularly when we sacrifice our long-term happiness or success or productivity or connection for an immediate gratification. This is the plight of the addicted mind. And that kind of decision compounds over time. When you constantly make that choice for immediate gratification, your body remembers that. It remembers that good feeling, and so you become more addicted to it over time. And so this is something that really takes effort to steer yourself away from. To delay that gratification and say, I know if I eat that chocolate cake right now, it will be more pleasurable, but it's not leading me to the long-term happiness or sense of meaning or fulfillment that I truly aspire for, that I truly desire. And so making sure that you're connecting to that long-term vision of yourself, seeing yourself 20 years down the road. I remember reading this book, I forget exactly what book it was, but they referenced this study that looked at what differentiated successful people from unsuccessful people. And one of the key differentiators was that successful people are connected to their long-term future self. They're connected to a future, to a vision of their life 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that future version. Whereas those who are unsuccessful tend to just think about, what do I want right now? Or what do I want in the next 5 minutes? Rather than thinking about, yeah, what does me 20 years from now really want? So, not trading tomorrow's peace for today's relief is just a reminder to keep your future happiness in mind, because so much of what brings real fulfillment and real happiness is only accessed by saying no to the immediate pleasure right in front of us. So that's an important rule that I'm bringing in for myself, and maybe it'll be helpful for you as well. Rule number 7 that I'm bringing into 2026: live now, not someday. Now, this is a little contrary to the rule just before that, but the idea behind this one is to notice the ways that you're constantly postponing really truly living and going for what you actually desire. And this was highlighted to me by a client who I was working with, who made this really deep insight that he had spent so much of his life focused on work and making more money that he had forgotten to live, to do the things that genuinely brought him joy and passion and connection. And he was talking about this in one of the group calls recently that was in the Unhooked Academy. And it was just so inspiring as a reminder to not put off life anymore. That you're not going to get to the end of your life sitting on your deathbed saying, I wish I had worked a few more hours. I wish I had made a bit more money and put a bit more away in the bank. You're going to be thinking, man, I wish I had gone on that grand adventure with my friends, or I wish I had pursued that dream of mine. And so just that reminder to remember what this is all about. What are we actually here for? It's not just to make some more money, not to be productive for productivity's sake, but to actually experience joy and presence and connection, and to not miss your whole life. And an important thing is to remember that the habits you're building now create the life that you will live in the future. And so it's easy to think, well, I just want to work hard right now because I know that in the future I'll be able to relax. That can be true, but it has to be in balance, because it's easy to continue to postpone and procrastinate on actually living your life. And so at some point you have to cultivate that muscle of stopping and smelling the roses and saying, it's time to live, and I don't need to just postpone that any further. So don't delay in living until you feel ready. Readiness comes from taking action. And the reason that this one is so important for me is it's the reason I'm here in South Africa right now. It was getting close to the holidays, and I was planning on staying home, working, doing my normal routine. And when I heard this client of mine talking about that, how he wished he had realized this sooner, I made the decision to say, you know what? I want to go on a grand adventure. I want to visit my friend and go on some hikes and feel the sun on my face. And so I made that decision to not postpone and not just work a little harder. Of course, it takes balance, because you need to also work hard. You need to maintain a job and get things done. But knowing when to have that balance is so important. So live now, not someday. So there you have it, folks. Those are the 7 rules that I'm living by as we head into 2026. As a recap: build health before ambition. Be a man of integrity, especially when no one is watching. Get back on track quickly. Guard your attention like your finances. Boredom is an essential nutrient. Don't trade tomorrow's peace for today's relief. And live now, not someday. So I hope you've enjoyed these 7 rules. I would love to hear what rules you are living by. So wherever you're watching this or listening to this, I would love if you drop a comment down below and let me know what are the rules you're living by as we head into 2026. And if you want to join a community of men who are living in integrity and focused on becoming the best versions of themselves, check out my community called Unhooked Academy. It's where we support guys in breaking free from porn and living their best lives. So that's it for today, folks. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. Peace out.